Everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fun Filled Friday. My name's Dorene Decibus, and I am with It Begins with Ink and Paper, and I'm really glad that you're able to either join me tonight live or on the replay or on my YouTube channel. So thank you in advance for joining me. I have a great fun fold to share with you tonight. I'm actually going to maybe even have time to share two little fun folds for you with you tonight, and they're both going to be using the Designer Series paper. We had a lot of Designer Series paper available during Celebration, and so I thought this would be the perfect time for me to show you a really fun fold that you can make with the paper and how you can change the paper about to fit what you need. So let's get started. Let me show you the things that I'm going to be using tonight. So to start with, I've got a whole pile of stamps and everything all set to go. So tonight I'm going to be using the the Seaside Bay bundle. This is such a great bundle. It has all of these great aquatic and beach themed images, and it is has a sympathy, a thank you, and you are a pearl, rare and precious stamp in it. It also comes with some great dies, and you can see I've been cutting some things out. I'm going to be using some of these dies tonight. I'm going to show you how to use this one in particular, but we're going to be using several of them. This is a cling stamp set, so that means that it is a rubber mounted set. So this is one of the sets that we'll be using tonight. I'm also going to be using the Celebrate You from Daisy Delight, and this is a set that I will probably be showing in the upcoming weeks. It's one that I really, really like a lot. It's just so dainty, and just the flowers are just beautiful, the floral images, the things that you can die cut with it. So we'll be using that. We're also going to be using another set of dies, and these dies are the deckled rectangles. I really like these. They have a great shape to them, and you've got all of these different rectangles that you can layer on each other. So we're going to be using kind of the two middle ones. So if you count 3 in on either direction, then those are the two that I'm going to be using tonight as part of the card that we're going to make with the fun fold. We are also going to be using, and I'll go over the dimensions of the paper in just a moment. We're also going to be using, let me just move some things here. Perfect. We're also going to be using, these come with the suite, the flat adhesive back pearls. They are iridescent, and they come in 2 different sizes, and they kind of look like the pearls you'd find in an oyster. So it's kind of cool. So we'll be using those as well. And we're going to be using the, let me grab the pack of paper. It's right behind me. The paper that goes with this suite is pretty spectacular. I really like it a lot. And so let me just show you this. We'll be using a couple of different patterns from it. So I don't know if you can tell as I move this around, but there's a lot of shimmer that's in this paper. So you get 48 6x6 sheets, and they are double-sided. One side has this beautiful shimmer on it, and then the other side is just some beautifully patterned paper. So that's the first design. Then you have these beautiful mussel shells that just, you can see that they just spark up and glimmer too. And then the back side, you have this really beautiful pastel backing. Here you have some gold shells. So you can see the gold embossed front and just how it shimmers. And then the back side looks like waves. This next design gives you that view of waves again, but we've got some gold embossed on it. It's just so pretty. Oh, and I forgot to show you the back. And the back has mussels and shells and crabs. Then we have this school of fish swimming on a greenish background with some gold streaks coming through, but you've got the school of fish swimming. The backside is another beautiful pastel. This one has the gold as well. And again, the same, so the images don't, it's the gold lines, if you can see through this, and then the background looks like a piece of wood. Here we have another kind of wavy piece of water, and if you can see, there's the lines that come through that are just make it so nice. And then doesn't this just look like the beach? I love this piece of paper on the back. You've got the water, you've got the beach, and then you've got the sky above. The next design, which again, it's just beautiful, is just those wavy lines, if you can see them. And on the back, whoops, and on the back, you just have some of the mussel shells. Then this is similar to the gold paper I showed you just a little while ago with the shells on it, but this time it's all blue. So you still get that beautiful glimmer. You can see it kind of iridescent. And then on the back, we've got another beautiful beachy water scene. This school of fish is on more of a brown crumb cake background. And on the back, you have the crabs and the fish and the bird. And we have dies that fit both of these, so you can cut those out. That's what I did tonight. And then here we have the pinks and the green and a little bit of the blue with the gold again. And the same colors, but and then the final sheet is a crumb cake with the iridescent shells, and then kind of a wavy background. So the paper is really pretty. So this is the paper that goes with the suite, and the colors that it matches are Balmy Blue, Coastal Cabana, Mint Macaron, Night of Navy, Petal Pink, Pool Party, and Sahara Sand. So very pretty. And I am going to be playing with this suite this week when I have some time. So you'll be starting to see some samples on my Facebook page. I'm just going to put this aside. I'll fix it afterwards. So the other paper that we're using is one of the papers that you could have received for free through Celebration, and it is the Dainty Flowers paper. And I'm going to show you how I can take this paper and make it into anything that I want to make it into. So the card that we're going to make tonight is this. So I'm using a piece of Designer Series paper as my base. I'm using this beautiful ribbon. It is so soft. Very, very thin. It is called the Balmy Blue White ribbon, and it is just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful ribbon. And so you can see, oh, and I'm also using the Pearlescent paper. I'm using the rose and gold metallic specialty paper. And when you open this card up, I've got a pocket in here that I'm creating a little card, a little separate card that can go inside of it. A gift card can go in here too, which I'm going to do. This is a birthday card for a very special person in my family. So, and you can see those pearls that I put on it as well. So let's get started. And let me go over the, sorry about the phone in the background. I have a loud phone because of my hearing disability, and by the time I get up and turn it down, it will be too late anyway. So I apologize for that ringing. So here's what I have. For the Designer Series paper, I'm using the same pattern for both sheets, and it's the one that had the that blue iridescent background. So this piece is cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. Please remember that I'm going to post below the video in the comment section, and I'll post it on my YouTube page. I will be posting the dimensions for all the cardstock and for anything that has to be scored and cut. So this one is, as I said, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and this one is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I have a piece of the pearlescent paper, so pretty, and I took, this is the one thing I didn't tell you I was also using, and it's on my desk somewhere, right here. I am using this embossing folder. This is an embossing folder that's in our main catalog. It has all of the shells and seagrass and, seaweed and all of that good stuff that you can emboss with. And so I'm using that with this card as well. And I'll put this up close to hopefully you can see the embossing on it. But this is the pearlescent paper. And this measures 1 inch by 5 1/2. And then I used the gold metallic specialty paper to cut out this little scallop shell. And I used crumb cake to cut out another scallop shell that's a little bigger. These two, the crab and the bird, I cut out right out of the designer series paper with the dies. So I'll put those aside. I also cut some of the seagrass, dune grass, whatever I want to call it, in 2 sizes. So we have those out of mint macaron. So you just need scraps for that. I also cut out of the deckled rectangles. I cut a piece of crumb cake and a piece of whisper white. And I'm going to show you how I created this piece here. And out of the starry sky, I used a scrap to cut another rectangle a little bit bigger. And then this piece here is a piece of basic white that I cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then this is a piece of paper from the celebration paper that I showed you, the Dainty Flowers, that had this beautiful blue background that I thought fit so nicely with the stamps that I'm using tonight. So this is cut at 5 1/2 by 11 inches. And I'm going to use my score tool, and I'm going to score it in 2 places. Whoops, sorry about hitting that camera. I apologize for that. So I'm going to put this down. As I said, this is measured at 5 1/2 by 11 inches, and I am going to be scoring at 4 1/4. So we'll find the 4 right here, go to 1/4, and score that. And then I'm also going to be scoring at 8 1/2. So that's all I need to do for the scoring. Set this tool aside. All right, and I'm going to use my bone folder to fold at those score lines. I want the blue paper to be the outside of my card, and I want the floral part of the paper to be the inside of my card. You would be able to do this card with any designer series paper. Many of our designer series papers have these patterns on one side and something very specific on the inside, but I'm going to show you tonight how I can use my other products to work around all of this. So let's just get this part set up, and then I'm going to do some stamping. So this piece here to create, I'm going to cover up the inside section of my card with this basic white cardstock. And I'm just going to do that with Stampin' Seal. This will give me a space. It's going to do 2 things for me. It's going to cover up this designer series paper, and it's going to give me a little bit of space that I can do some writing on. I could do some stamping on, whatever I'd want to do. And now I'm going to make my pocket. So it does leave me just a little bit of a spot. That's okay. So to make my pocket, I'm just going to add adhesive to both sides. I don't want to close this up. So I'll add my adhesive to both sides and then adhere that. And now I have my pocket. I'm going to set this aside because I'm going to do some stamping. So on this small piece of paper here, and I'm going to actually stamp on both pieces of Designer Series paper. So let me set those out. So I'm going to start with these little Piper birds. And I'm going to use for ink Early Espresso. And I'm going to stamp these, and they're just going to go across the top of the card. So I'm kind of looking at this as, here's my land area, and I'm just going to stamp this twice. There we go. So I have my birds right at the top of the paper. Let you just see that a little bit better. All right, I'm going to set that aside. On this piece, which is going to go on, and I'm done with my, I'm not going to use this ink anymore, so let me just put that away. On this one, I am going to stamp right at the top, and I'm going to stamp my greeting, which says, you are a pearl, rare and precious. So like I said, this is going to be a birthday card that's going to go to someone in my family. So I'm going to start by just making sure I've got this on straight so that when I stamp it, it's nice and straight. So I'm using the Starry Sky ink, which looks very nice at the top of this. You see that? Put that aside. I'm not done with the Starry ink, so I'll keep it close, but I am done with that stamp. Now, this larger piece that I've stamped on is now going to go at the top of my card on the inside. So I am going to take my adhesive and add that to the top, and then the inside of my card is done. Let me just make sure, so I make sure it's right at the top, that I don't have any of the floral paper showing. There we go. So now this is what the inside of my card looks like. And I'm going to fold it again because it has a little bit of a thickness now to it. The really nice thing about this is by adding the cardstock and Designer Series paper on the inside of the card, it has added a little bit of weight to the card. So it will be sturdier. Okay, so I'm going to set this piece and this piece aside for right now and focus on the card that's going to go on the inside. So what I did was I cut two identical deckled rectangles. And then inside the stamp set, if you remember, the die, there's a die that looks like this that comes with the set. So what I did was I placed this in my die, in my Big Shot, and cut along to make this edge here. What you just have to realize is that you want, it's this part here that's going to come off and be this piece. So, and when you go through the die machine, this is going to make an imprint on the other side. So I was able to cut off two pieces, but I had to make sure I turned it both times so that the bottom edge is what was coming off. So I just wanted to explain that. So then the other thing I want to do is I want to just match it up to make sure I'm matching it up to the right side. Perfect. Because I didn't know if I cut the top or the bottom. Okay, so now for some stamping. I'm going to take some crumb cake ink and I'm going to stamp in 2 places. The first place is I'm just going to add some granules of sand to this piece. So I'm just going to take my speckled stamp and just stamp right along this. And then I'm just going to go back and fill in the spots that need to be filled in. There we go. One more. Okay, that looks good. It's very subtle. It's just tone on tone. So I'm not sure that you really can even see it that well. But this is going to go on the bottom of this piece, this deckled rectangle. The next thing I'm going to stamp is I'm going to take these shell stamps and I'm going to just go along the edge like that. And part of it's going to be covered, and that's fine. All right, almost done with all my stamping. The only other thing I want to stamp is my greeting. That is Celebrate You. And again, I'm just going to make sure I've got it straight. And I'm going to stamp this up in the top corner of that little piece. All right, so stamping part of the project is done. Now let's just get everything together. So the next thing is I'm going to take my pieces of grass and I want to just add a little bit of texture to them, and I'm going to do that by just sponging some ink on it. So these are all pieces of mint macaron cardstock, and I'm just going to take a sponge dauber and I'm just going to sponge along and just add some variegations of color, a little bit of texture on it to just give it more than just the cardstock look. So this is just a way that you can really make things pop. And it's very easy. You could use a sponge, you can use a sponge dauber like I'm doing. I'm also going to take my little scallop shell and do the same thing with the crumb cake ink. Make sure you say a hello when you get on to watch. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me what you think about the cards. And please feel free to share my video, like my video. It really makes a difference, so thank you for that. Okay, so now let's start putting this tag together. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some grass. I want some of the grass to be underneath the sand. So kind of look like it's behind the sand. And I'm going to overlap it a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to add this piece right along the bottom. There we go. Adding a lot of adhesive at this one end because it's going to cover the grass. But I wanted to keep that deckled shape at the bottom, so that is why I used the other rectangles so that I'd have that. And now I'm going to add a little bit more of the grass. So I want to be able to have the bird kind of come out of the grass. There we go. And then my bird that I cut out, I want to make sure I'm not covering up the C in the Celebrate You. So I'm going to make sure his beak is low enough. And there we go. Isn't that cute? And then I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this. To put on the rectangle that I cut that's just a little bit larger than the first one. So perfect. So this gets to go right inside here. Just a little surprise for the person who opens the card. And now I'm ready to decorate the front. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take and get some of this beautiful ribbon. Now, what's kind of cool about the paper that I am using, and I'll show you this in just a second, is that when the ribbon goes down on the back, it just blends in with that designer series paper. Isn't that cool? Love that. So this is going to go here. I'm going to take my piece of pearlescent paper that's been embossed with the seashell. This is going to go right across the front, kind of in the middle. There we go. And this ribbon is going to go, I'm going to be tying in a bow over here. And let me just so I want to make sure it's nice and flat on the inside, which it is. And then I'm going to use this tool. This is a pair of tweezers that are really strong and can hold things right in place. And this is part of our embossing kit. So it is one of my favorite new tools that I have. And I'll show you how I use it when I tie a bow. So I'm going to get my ribbon ready to go. And you know when you need that second hand to hold this in place? Well, I can take these tweezers and slide it right into place. And there is my second hand. And then I can come back and tie my bow without worrying about that piece. Before I tighten it, I can just slide this out. And I can arrange the ribbon the way I want it to be. I don't want it to be quite this large. There we go. I can make a beautiful bow. And cut off my there we go. And now I'm ready to decorate the front. And like I said, the inside, it just blends right in where the ribbon is. Isn't that cool? I love that. Okay, now to get the front piece all set and ready to go. So we need all of these little pieces. And the piece that we stamped earlier, I'm going to be adding one shell here I'm going to be adding this shell with a dimensional. And then I'm going to add my crab. And then I'm going to use dimensionals to attach this to the front of the card. I love dimensionals. Probably one of my favorite tools to use. And add that to the front of the card, and we're almost done, because all we have now left to do is to add our bling. So I'm going to take one of the larger pearls and put down here, and then I'm going to put two of the pearls up here at the top. I always do this in odd numbers, and I try to make a triangle when I do it. And that is our finished fun fold. So when you open it upside, for the inside, you see that we've got the bird stamped up there. We've got plenty of place to write a message. And then in the pocket is a little extra card to give to the person you're celebrating. And I think I'm even going to add a pearl to the inside. Right there. And a gift card can also fit in this pocket as well. All right, so that's our fun fold for tonight. But I have another card that is super fast that I want to show you really quickly that will is another way we can use designer series paper. And a lot of our designer series paper is coming out like this, especially our floral ones. So I want to show you this real quick. So I took another piece of that Dainty Flower designer series paper. Just get all this out of the way. And here it is right here. It is cut at 5.5 by 12. And this is the sheet of designer series paper that the other half of the designer series paper looks like this upside down. So you can cut 2 strips and make 2 cards out of this. And then I cut, and the back side looks like this. And then I cut the a strip, 1-inch strip off the top, trimmed it down to 9 inches. So the scoring on this is how quick and easy this card will be, and how another way that you can use your designer series paper. So let me just go right over here. I am going to score this at 4 and 8. So here's our 4, and I'm getting those measurements right from, I'm just dividing it by 3. So 4 and 8. So there we go. Sorry for hitting the camera again. And then I'm going to use my bone folder, and I am going to fold those edges. I have a piece of cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and this is going to go right in the middle, so I have a spot where I can write my message. So here we go for the inside of the card. I can decide how I want my front to go. I think I want it to go. So I can have the card open like this, or I can have the card open like this. So I'm going to choose this right here. this is going to be a belly band. So I am going to put this around the back of my card. And I am going to kind of loosely fold it around to the front. I want this to be able to slide off of the card. So I don't want it as tight as I can get it to be. So I kind of want it a little bit loosey-goosey. I'm going to add some adhesive here. It's the fastest card you'll ever see me make. And I am going to attach that. And it slides off, so I'm good to go. I am going to take, it's all right that my end is meeting here. I am going to take some white baker's twine, and I am going to double this around. So let me just pull off enough. And I'm going to tie this right over here. Let me just snip it. So this is going to go right onto my belly band. I wanted it to be doubled so that I can have a double bow. And then I can adjust it. And there we go. And then I'm just going to trim. Okay. And then to finish my card, I am going to take a label that I already punched or die cut out of the pillow box dies. And I am going to use a really pretty green. I think some old olive is in store here. So let me just grab my old olive ink. And I need a sympathy card. So I have here from the set I'm using tonight, the Heartfelt Sympathy that I'm going to stamp onto the label. And then I'm going to use dimensionals to attach this to my, I'm going to attach the dimensionals right to the front of the belly band so that I don't put them in the wrong place. And I'm going to put that on the front. And let me see, what do I have for some great, looking for what would be the perfect embellishment. Well, I guess I am just going to use maybe some pearls. Maybe these yellow ones here. So I'm going to put a large one right here, and then one of each size. And we'll add 5 to this one. And there we go. We have our heartfelt sympathy card made with another piece of designer series paper. So I hope you've seen tonight 2 different ways you can make 2 different fun folds using designer series paper, and be able to use up that designer series paper you may have earned during celebration, or maybe it's just designer series paper you have. But here are 2 different ways with 2 different folds. I hope you enjoyed tonight's project. I will be back again next Friday night for another Fun Fold Friday. I hope, unlike we're getting just a huge mess of snow tonight and tomorrow, I hope you're not in the snow belt area where you're watching this from. Have a good night, everyone, and a great week. See you next week. Bye-bye.